Okay, welcome to the second episode of the random weekly updates. As you can see, it's truly random, right? So I think it's been, something around 2 weeks now that the first episode was published. Or 1 week, I can't remember. It's random. So in this episode, we will talk about two specific subjects, which are the future of Daedalus. Actually, mainly Daedalus, actually. So first part, the future of Daedalus as a hub for the Cardano community. And also the multi-delegation feature, which is coming, which is also kind of like about Daedalus. So let's start. So regarding the Daedalus Hub, I call it that way, because I truly think that Daedalus will become kind of like a hub for the community, and the reason why is because Cardano differentiates itself from other protocols where, if you look at, for example, Ethereum, if you look at, for example, Polkadot, these types of networks, there is no full node wallet which is really adopted, right? You have plenty of nodes running, you have plenty of wallets, but the full nodes wallets that exist are very rarely adopted, mostly because of, I guess, user experience reasons. And that's where Cardano comes in, and Cardano has the advantage that as over the years there was only one wallet available, which was Daedalus. A lot of people are actually managing their funds through Daedalus. And Daedalus has the advantage that as it's a full node wallet and as it's a real app, right? Yoroi is also great, but Yoroi I would more compare it to, for example, MetaMask, than really a full node, than really a real app, if I may say it like that, which you can use to interact with the protocol. So it's more like an extension for Yoroi. But I think that Daedalus has the advantage that as it has a lot of users, it could actually become a real hub for the community, especially if you can, currently you can make transactions on Daedalus. You can delegate your funds. In the future, you will be able to vote as well as delegate your votes to someone else through liquid democracy on Voltaire. And I guess that with Goguen, you should also eventually have a kind of like an integrated browser, if you may call it that way, to interact with a certain selection of dApps inside the Daedalus wallets. And that's where really like the fun starts, right? Because on Ethereum you have the disadvantage that you have a very select amount of users and a very large amount of investors, mostly because a lot of people hold their ether and other currencies on exchanges, and so to use them it's quite difficult because they have to set up another wallet, for example MetaMask, to be able to interact, so they need to make transactions, and then all that is very annoying, especially if you have high transactions on the network, like it's currently the case on Ethereum. Well, if you can do everything from one wallet, that changes everything, right? It solves everything, because you can leave all your funds inside the Daedalus wallets. They never leave, essentially. You can delegate them through Daedalus. You can use dApps through Daedalus. You can vote on the network through Daedalus. You can make transactions on the network through Daedalus. So I think that the long-term vision for Daedalus is, I don't know the strategy behind Daedalus, but I think IOHK they're playing very well their game, and I think that eventually the goal is for Daedalus to become a real hub in the community, and I think that that's actually real great. I prefer that instead of having a community using like, I guess not full node wallets, like for example, is the case with, for example, MetaMask on Ethereum, where you are essentially relying on the nodes of MetaMask. In this case, it decentralizes the network even more, and that's something which is really awesome. Now let's move to the second thing I would like to talk about during this video, and that's multi-delegation. So currently there's, I guess, there's this debates of people with these small stake pool operators and then the huge stake pool operators, and then people fighting in between, like I want more stake, I want more stake, and I think that it's understandable. Obviously, I'm personally a small stake pool operator at Proof Africa, and it's fully understandable that it's, you would like also kind of like want to be saturated and make I guess hundreds of dollars every single day. But I think that that's not the right way of looking at it, because I think that people are in this case way too are judging way too quickly. We are just in this since a month, right? And so it's still incredibly early, and there are especially things which are lacking, and in this case it's multi-delegation. So the reason why the Cardano Foundation, for example, IOHK and Murgo haven't really started to officially delegate to other stake pools than their own is likely for security reasons, right? When you have to manage like hundreds of millions of dollars in your wallets, you don't want to mess something up, and so you try to have as little transactions as possible, which means that the idea of saying, okay, we are going to create, like, let's say 100 wallets to and spread our funds in these 100 wallets, so we can delegate each wallet to a specific stake pool. That's very risky, right? Because the chances of someone making a mistake and I guess adding a letter or a zero to an address by mistake it's probable, right? When you do that 100 times, that's likely. It will eventually happen. And so I think that that's where multi-delegation can bring a real change, because it will allow entities like the Cardano Foundation, like IOHK, but also huge whales, which currently have really no choice but to delegate one stake pool. These entities and people will now have the opportunity to delegate to multiple stake pools. And I think that's something which is going to change, to bring a massive change. I really hope so, actually, because it would be really great for the ecosystem. And I think it's a really feature which is really needed, because there's currently this very it's really like little versus big, and there's the elite, if I may say it like that, and then there are the people who are all of these small stake pool operators, if I may say it like that, who are struggling and trying to grow, and kind of desperately trying to grow. And I also, to be honest, I also think that there are reasons why stake pool operators are small and stake pools are small, and why others are big, right? I think it's also due to product market fits, and the fact that it's not because of nothing that all these YouTuber stake pools have an enormous amount of stake. It's because they are really good at marketing, and because through their videos people kind of like trust them, right? There's this connection which you don't have with, I guess, an anonymous small stake pool operator who is blaming others on Twitter, right? That's just a fact. And so I think that's something which is really coming into play here. And then you've also, for example, the low fee stake pools, like I guess 1% pools, which obviously they're going to be popular. That just makes sense. So I think that it's also up to the small stake pool operators, and I myself a stake pool operator, and we are working on it to try to differentiate themselves and find things which people actually appreciate and which people are actually willing to delegate for, if I may say it like that. And so I think that's really something which is going to be increasingly important, because what I noticed is that there are a lot of small stake pool operators constantly arguing, if I may say it like that, on Twitter, and I guess blaming the system that it's not fair and that they're struggling, and I fully understand that. Again, I'm also a small stake pool operator, but you gotta do something to earn it, right? It's not magically going to come, and it's not just by posting on Twitter that your stake pool is going to receive billions. Really, at the end of the day, it's just marketing, and you need to differentiate yourselves, and you are not differentiating yourself. I'm going to get there. Differentiating yourself. Articulation. Differentiating yourself by tweeting the exact same things other people are also doing, right? That's just not going to work. When you look at on Twitter and you see, like, for example, I think it's Swim, it's a huge stake pool, and the guy behind it is constantly complaining on Twitter that he has too much stake, and then in the comments you get all these other stake pool operators who are saying, hey, if you have too much stake, I'm here. But like, it would work if you had only one comment. But when you get 10 people requesting stake and begging for stake, it's just not attractive, right? Like, would you be delegating to a stake pool which is begging for stake? Like, that doesn't sound right. Like, would you be willing to put your money in a bank which is literally begging for your money? It sounds sketchy, right? Like, I wouldn't do it. I want to be in a bank where I know my money's safe, where I know it's not going to fall apart, where I know it's stable, and I know that in 10 weeks I will be able to check back and my money will still be there and the bank will still be running. And when you are literally begging for stake, that's not going to work. Really, that's just not going to work. And in terms of marketing, I think that's a big mistake a lot of small stake pool operators are doing. But obviously, we must also be doing mistakes because we are also still a small stake pool. So I guess we are here to learn, and we'll see how the future will look like. Either way, thanks for watching this update, and see you next week. Make sure also to delegate to Proof Africa, and I'm not begging here.